Yeah, don't show my lack of maturity level. and my age. I'm dating myself with that one.
Yeah.
Oh, the time we spent Ren and Stimpy.
Do we want anything on the table, or do we want the table?
Yeah, the table's. I mean,
Do
it's weird
water?
that there's nothing on it.
Water?
Probably water. Put some water on there.
I'll drink to that.
All right.
It'd be awesome if there was a couple beers there.
Yeah.
We go get some.
So, tell me about DenverGS.
Well, DenverGS is actually a product of a fortuitous opportunity. DenverGS came about because a client we were talking with had a complication, and I think that's really the basis of all entrepreneurship is
There's a
solving
problem.
a problem.
We need to fix it.
So yeah, their problem was that they had to use signage in standing communications in a city that did not allow and was not very good with bootleg signs, and he was receiving fines at a very frantic rate.
To the point that the cops were threatening to arrest, but
yeah, as real or as made up as that might have been, it's still an interesting point. But what we were able to do is eliminate that risk utilizing our unique sign deployment.
which it kind of skirts in the gray area of.
Right. Yeah, it's not temporary
Codes.
because it doesn't stand still, and it's not one of these backlit trucks that you see down in Vegas on the Vegas Strip that has a giant sign on the back. So, in all actuality, it turned out to just be an answer to a need, and I said it like this, and Silas said the same thing like this, and he kind of gave us the nod to go forward with it.
Yeah.
And I went out and kind of, with that nod being probably more of a yes than he ever intended, we drove for a couple hours with a sign, and then went back and said, "Hey, how'd it go?" And they're like, "We're busy." And
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, I guess that's probably because of what I just did."
Yeah. And that sign we're using is a unique tool that is able to kind of have the impact that got them that traffic. It's not just any sign that you would see on the top of a taxi or anything like that. It's one that goes into the hitch, goes way up, 8 foot tall. It's right in people's faces and traffic.
It's like the old pop-ups on the computer screen that you used to get when
Yeah.
AOL first came out.
Pop-ups in real life.
Yeah, in real life. But it ended up being a super realistic tool, super fantastic tool, effective tool, to the tune of increasing their through-door traffic by 500%. It was only a few sign-ins per day, and then it went to 25 sign-ins per day. So we thought, hey, there may be something here, and we went with it.
Yeah.
So tell me about your individual entrepreneurial journeys and how you came about full circle to DenverGS.
Oh.
For me, I've always been practicing entrepreneurship since I've started creating anything. So I had Photoshop when I was 14, and I created a brand called New Vision, and that was just a pretty much a design firm, and I made logos for all my friends, and so it wasn't any money exchange, but it was just the practice of being an entrepreneur and providing a service for who are connected to you. So I just kept doing that, kept learning on my own through design and audio and video. Then now I'm here with a project that I would have never thought I would be an entrepreneur in, but it just kind of all clicked and made sense, got traction, and we got into the black pretty fast. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've got you beat by a few years at least, and I think through endeavoring as an entrepreneur, we have a situation to where the path of least resistance often is the most successful. You're taking advantage of the whole mantra of "I'd rather be lucky than good." So I think a lot of that plays into it. You find yourself in positions that, if you take advantage of them at the right time and they're meaningful for the customer or the market to pull that need, then you end up with a product or a service that is very valuable and can take off from there. You know, beyond that, the entrepreneurial spirit is something that, not saying that you have it or you don't, I think a lot of us do have it, but it's probably a little more apparent in others. And from even an early stage as a young man, my parents would say that I've had that since a young person, but then I spent a lot of time in the corporate world, and that was fairly, it was a great place to be. It's a successful place to be.
But then that kind of sparked your real desire to be an entrepreneur once that kind of faltered, or
when that faltered,
yeah.
As I found out that that space is not as secure as some might make it out to be. When it did falter, then I was in an opportunity that not many people find, in the sense that I could then, without any regret or without asking for too much forgiveness, go in effort and develop my entrepreneurial spirit in endeavors that some made sense, some didn't. You know, I'm a product of many failures.
Lessons, not failures.
Yeah, well, yeah, with John Maxwell and failing forward,
yeah.
They are opportunities. I picked up a lot of stuff while I was down there. But
you didn't fail, you just found another way that didn't work.
There you go. So many ways to put it besides that way.
Did. It's not a failure, you just found a different way that didn't work.
I did, and that's the honesty of coming from many generations of many years ago with some of the greatest inventors and entrepreneurs in our history. So it's really a psychological position that you maintain as you journey through life, fine-tuning, persistency, and learning who you are and how to best apply your particular and unique set of skills.
So tell me a little bit more about that mindset. Like, what mindset does it take to be an entrepreneur? Not even a successful one, just to be one.
It's almost seen as lunacy. I would say it can be compared to a bit psychotic.
Doing the same thing over and over, even though it's sometimes not succeeding. But yeah, that persistence is what it takes, the grit, and then knowing yourself and the traits that fit for whatever you're trying to do. And then if you don't have the right traits for what that business needs, get the partners in that can sustain or fulfill those positions to sustain the company.
Yeah, because we'd be all lying to ourselves if we thought we knew everything about it. It's really knowing what you know, what you're good at, and then bringing in those partners to supplement those areas that you need help with.
Yeah.
And that's where it becomes difficult, because recently there was some information put out that says that the most successful businesses out there, or startups out there, the great majority of them are by single founders, not by teams, not by partners. I can see a lot to that, because it's difficult to get any group of adults in the same room headed in the same direction.
Yeah.
So partnerships is finding the right people, not just capable people, and that's where I think a lot of people fail, is they say, well, I've got the best person at that. Well, great. If he's the best person at that, why is he working with you? And that answer, that why, is really the basis of how that relationship grows to be understanding, nurturing, and successful ultimately. And a lot of the reason why, the largest portion of the reasons why to invest into a company is based on the team. Not the product, not the idea, not the opportunity, not how it's stacked, not the time and place in the market, but more so the team. We see that play out over and over again in history. So,
yeah.
But yeah, the mentality behind it, it almost looks a bit psychotic, because you're having to be so persistent, which includes so much failure.
Lessons.
Tell me about the biggest challenges you've seen thus far in this venture, just overall in your general entrepreneurial journey. What are some of those challenges that you guys face?
Well, I'd say to compound on what you were just saying, an investor looks for a team that's capable so that they can execute whatever idea, whatever business happens. So I think the greatest challenge I faced was trying to find people, the human resource and the human relations, and getting people involved that want to do it long term, if that's possible. But we do have a kind of a gig economy business, so just embracing that, okay, these people are going to come and go, and kind of revolve around the idea.
Yeah, it took a lot of contacts to make last year happen.
Yeah. So I think that was the biggest challenge, I guess, for me, is like figuring out how to work with people with a new venture, to where they trust you as a business owner, and know that you're going to come through on your end, and then hoping they'll come through on their end, which was part of the struggle, I'd say.
Well, quite honestly, Silas brings to the team something that fulfills the team, has his own qualities, and that quality there is really surrounding the people aspect of the business. I would like to say that I'm just the most amazing person when it comes to business, but quite honestly, I'm probably more of the side of, hey, there's stuff to do, let's get it done. Here's what I see down the road, here's what we need to avoid, here's my lessons and some wisdom to impart on our process. So in that sense, to have somebody step in the business to make up some of the areas that I have difficulty with was incredible, invaluable. So for me, the complication, the most difficult part of this journey is some of the realities that come along with entrepreneurialism, winning accounts, losing accounts, dealing with the general position of the public mentality. That's difficult for me. Unfortunately, I'm still learning that not everybody out there looks, acts, or thinks like I do. I think that it'd be a lot simpler if they did, but it's just not the case. So just learning how to and when to dig in, fight for your position, knowing for certain that yes, this is going to be valuable for us, and when to hold back and say, hey, this is a low-cost learning experience or a low-cost learning opportunity that didn't work elsewhere but may work in this environment this time. So let's go ahead and move forward with that, give that a try, and that really imparts value into your partnership and into the efforts growing that business. So it's a long journey. But fortunately, we've seen some success. I'm not saying that we're blowing it out of the water like a Zuckerberg when Facebook came out in big or anything like that. I think we're in a different environment that is a bit slower growing, but I'd prefer to grow a little bit slower because each step you take, each success you find is based on a real solid platform. There are not many false floors in growing at a reasonable pace. So I think there's a lot of value in there, but the struggle is real. The struggle is real.
Mm-hmm.
So expanding on that, that idea of your support network, what support have you been able to find? How have you been able to leverage that to make this even a remotely successful endeavor?
I have a lot of solid friends that help me out to take care of the routes and be there when someone else that we maybe hired outside of my immediate sphere falls through. So that's really, I think, been, my support for it, is just being able to tap into those people that have my back, no matter what, and will do the grit along with me, and then, jet out, come back in as I need. So I think that's been definitely just what's helped kind of keep my side of the business going.
It's been a huge advantage for the solution for the human asset component of what we do. It's heavily reliant on the gig economy and having those assets deployed. So yeah, Silas's network coming through like that has been very advantageous to us. It would have been a huge uphill struggle for us to accomplish what we accomplished without having it, utilizing it, and then participating, and wanting your success. And I think that's why people participate, because they want you to succeed. So in that regard, that's been a huge network success for us. Other areas of success were through the network.
You have a lot of support too on your side. That's a little more on the business knowledge, but you've already gained that business knowledge too. So I don't know, what do you think was your supporting system through it?
I don't think my support system was actively focused on this one endeavor.
Yeah.
I think that you're correct in bringing to point the history and some of the mentors that have been involved with mentoring me through the years. And I'm reliant and grateful, and they're responsible for really any of the success that I find, because of the person who I was is not the person who I am, nor is the person that I need to be ultimately be where I'm going to be ending up. It's always a transition. But yes, you're absolutely right. The network that is imparted upon me, the information, the understanding is invaluable.
I remember through that network, there was a few that, although they weren't helping directly with this company, they kind of gave you that nod and that wink, like, hey, stick with that one. That one's gonna go somewhere. And I think even your wife was kind of like, hey, make sure.
God bless. I talk about the one individual that I owe the most to for putting up with my sorry butt is my wife. It's great that you bring her up. It's sad that I hadn't yet, but ultimately, yes, she is the reason for my success. She has her parents, in fact, instilled in her the mentality it takes to support something as meaningful as this may be for me, and as fulfilling as this is for my spirit. And so in that regard, you often know you're headed in the right directions by relying on the community to give you that nod. But there's often people that have different ideas or have different vantage points that look at it and go, you may want to do this, you may want to do that. But it is ultimately up to you to either sink or swim. And for her support, that's incredible, along with all of the other individuals that have imparted upon me wisdom through either intentional or unintentional friendship type of mentoring. There's a number of people to be named, and they know who they are. I ensure that they understand how grateful I am for that. But you're right. I'm new to this market. I don't necessarily have the network of friends in this market, but everybody I meet is incredible. If I do ask questions, they are very quick to answer them and impart upon me whatever wisdom they're able to give, and I think that's huge for the community, and that's why I participate myself in a mentoring program. And I hope that I'm able to impart some of that wisdom again.
So at what point you guys felt like you've met true success with this?
Not there. Have we gone from 0 to 1?
Yeah.
Have we done a few things? Have we met some milestones? I think so. Are we able to comfortably sustain the business? I don't know of any business out there that's comfortably sustainable until you sell it, and with an eye-wateringly high exit, to quote one of my former partners. But success is so much based on subjective vantage point. That have we met success? Not to my definition of it. To my definition, we're just starting.
I would call it a success in that I am now an entrepreneur.
There's a difference between an entrepreneur and business owner. You can be an entrepreneur and fail all day long. I was an entrepreneur for 10 years.
Right.
But yeah, business owner actually generates
Business
revenue.
owner, right, yeah. So I think in that way I feel successful. I don't view it as what I would call a successful business, but
Not a failure.
Yeah, exactly. I view success as just kind of being able to be your true self throughout business, throughout personal life, throughout being alone, you know?
Yeah.
So I would say, like, I have always viewed you as successful because you are your true self throughout all of
Thank you.
your communications. So I've always viewed you as successful, and then I think that kind of translated into this business, even though you probably don't view yourself as a successful businessman. Still having a partner, I think, that views you successful is helping this business, in my opinion.
It's a tremendous help. Success is so subjective that, you know, in what part of your life are you successful? I'm about to go through my 20th anniversary to my lovely wife, Stacy. Now that, I think, to a lot of people represents a success. I think that though in regard to something like that, success was known from the start, and it's the mentality going into it. So it's just too subjective to really, how is success defined in your situation? Did we put ourselves in a revenue positive position? Yes. Is that a success? Yes. Are we successful? Yes, in part. As to what, though, I think that's a question that could use some clarity.
Yeah.
Do you think anybody from your past would be surprised in your current situation or position? And you know, if so, why would they think that?
I think most everyone I know would be like, oh yeah, he's started a business, he's doing music, he's doing what he was doing when he was younger. Like, I don't think anyone would be too surprised, but.
Yeah, nobody'd be surprised in my past either. They would be surprised. They'd be surprised that I hadn't gone further yet. I think that's probably the only surprise to it, but it was very obvious in regard to me and my personality that eventually the entrepreneur side would kick in. So yeah, no surprises.
So I know we talked about mentorships a little bit. So did you have any mentorships like throughout your journey, and how have those mentors kind of shaped your vision for DenverGS?
The vision part was shaped because, in all reality, a tough part about being a mentor and a business owner is not thinking big enough. However, the struggle to get from start to that goal is the Mount Everest of the business community, of the entrepreneurial world. It relates back to that 0 to 1. How they affect a vision, though, is really imparting upon you the ability to see it as big as it possibly could get. The reality, though, is the persistency involved with efforting in that direction, failure after failure, without losing that vision. And that's what's unique, I think, to the entrepreneurial world, is fall down 7, get up 8. Don't change the target, change how you get there. Some of those idioms and mantras really play into that. Those mentors in my past really enabled me to realize that I wasn't thinking big enough in regard to the goal, but also supporting you during the process of saying it's not a failure, it was just an effort that didn't work out. I would say for me, I think my dad was a good mentor growing up, because he would sometimes start up his gas maintenance business throughout the summer to make extra on top of something else, or some summers the maintenance business would blow up and then he would be able to go for a couple of years
and then they would kind of clamp down depending, it was, you know, Parsons, small town stuff, so not a big market. So I just kind of saw him dip in and out of being an entrepreneur and running his own business. So I think that was a good just environment, I guess, to be around as far as a mentor. And then once I finally broke into the office world and the sign industry, my boss, John Sandin, he was a go-getter. He had the grit of, he was a salesman, but he would also do everything else that's needed to get the job done, including if he needed to build the sign himself. So seeing that in, I guess, he started as a salesman and eventually now he owns the company. So I think him as a mentor, teaching him or teaching me what he has learned from his mentors has also affected kind of where my trajectory now, getting into a business ownership position.
What was the best advice ever given to you, and did you follow it?
Yep. For me, my mom gave me advice before my first day of school, and it was just, she said, you are going to be picked on, but when people pick on you, it's them trying to cut you down because they see kind of where you're going. They're trying to even out the playing, you know. So with that perspective, it changed everything, you know, interacting with the competitive nature of humans, you know. So I think that really just helped me bust out of a victim state and be like a survivor consciousness of like, yeah, all these people that are trying to cut me down are cutting me down because they feel perhaps I'm a threat or they want to be in the same level position as they perceive me to be.
Well, we're out of
advice.
batteries on that one. So
Yeah.
you want to test, see what we got so
Yes,
far?
that'd be
I think
good.
that was pretty good.
That'd be very good. I
good
think
stuff.
Silas had a better answer for that last one than I would have been able to come up with.